Hello my loves and welcome to another reading vlog. I know there's like vlog after vlog after vlog, but we're in a vlogging mood guys. So I am once again doing another weekly reading vlog, although it's not going to be as long as the last vlog. It's just going to be Monday to Friday, more than likely Tuesday to Friday, because Monday I have got things to do. It is actually Monday today, so I don't know why I'm talking to Monday about Monday as it's not here yet. It is. I am planning to read the rest of my Bookoplathon books that I have left, and if I breeze through them quite quickly, then I will pop on like an extra couple that I do need to read. So books, I'm reading What We Devour, which is what I was reading in my first Bookoplathon vlog. I'm halfway. I'm on chapter 25, page 181, so I'm going to continue reading this and probably finish it either today. If not, it will certainly be finished tomorrow morning, but that's what I'm going to start with because I'm currently reading it. So I'm enjoying it. It's very dark and it's very gory, but it's a bit slow for me at the minute. I'm hoping because I'm now at the halfway point, things might start picking up, but we'll see. So there's that. Next up we have Harrow Lake by Kat Ellis. This is for the spooky prompt because it is based on like a cult from a horror movie, and it sounds spooky and I'm a little bit nervous. Like, it's not a long book, it's 303 pages long, so it's, you know, depending on how creeped out I am, I could probably smash this out in one sitting. Like, it says on here, Scream meets the Babadook, twisting and terrifying, fantastically eerie, will keep you gripped, atmospheric and beautifully written. So I don't know whether I'm going to be severely creeped out or absolutely love it. I feel like it's going to be like one of those sort of maybe creepy thrillers, so it's sort of got the horror creepiness, but it's not like monsters and stuff like that. I don't know. I honestly do not know what this is about apart from what the blurb tells you, and it's very vague. But I'm intrigued, and it is a beautiful cover, and it actually fits really nicely because today is a glorious sunny day. Like, summer's still trying to stay at the minute in the UK, which is confusing because 1 minute it's sunny, next minute it's raining. It makes its mind up. Next we have Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. So this was the social media prompt, which was basically go on whatever social media you want to, and the first book that you see that you own but haven't read yet, that's what you read. And I finally found, it took me a while to find books that I hadn't read. I found a stack of books that there was quite a few books I own that I hadn't read, but this just stuck out for me because Concrete Rose, I love The Hate You Give. It's one of my favourite books of all time, and this is sort of like a prequel before it. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see Maverick's sort of point of view about things. So yeah, very, I think that's going to be done in one sitting. That's why I feel like if I get my reading mojo and concentrate on reading, I might be able to smash out these books quite easily. Next, we've got One Last Stop. So you're probably thinking this wasn't on your Bookoplathon TBR. It's not, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm allowed to do this, but if not, I'm breaking the rules because I'm going to do it anyway. So originally it was You, Me on Vacation by Emily Henry, and the prompt is most anticipated book. Now that is my most anticipated book, and so is this. Now this is actually my book club pick, and I need to read it. And as much as I do want to read You, Me on Vacation, I wanted to do a vlog of both Emily Henry's books because I haven't read them and I haven't got time to do it. As well, I know it's sunny today, but I am one of those people, I like to do seasonal mood reads. So, you know, we're going into autumn in the UK, and I don't really want to read books that are based on in summer and holidays and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, it doesn't feel right. As much as it's sunny, it's just we're not in summer anymore. And yeah, so I'm not going to read that. I swapped it for One Last Stop because it is still a most anticipated read, and it's a new release anyway as well for me, and it's my book club pick, so I need to read it. And I thought, well, I can kill two birds with a stone sort of thing. I'm very excited for this. I've seen so many brilliant reviews. A lot of people said this is better than Red, White and Royal Blue, and I thought Red, White, Royal Blue was amazing. So I'm very intrigued in this, and again, I don't think this is going to take me long to read because I read Red, White and Royal Blue in one sitting, and it was probably as long as this one as well, so I'd see that I might do that in one sitting. And then lastly that I've got left for Bookoplathon is Run Rebel by Magic Man. So this was POC rep or POC author, which is both in this book. It is written in verse, and I'm not 100% sure what this one is about. So the first Magic Man book I read, which was actually, so this is a debut, the one that I read first was The Crossing, and it was about refugees and leaving your hometown and going to the UK, all of that, and it was so emotional. I sobbed and sobbed, and I think it took me a good 30 minutes to just cry out the book out of my system because it was so upsetting. So this is her debut, and I got a feeling from what I did when I flicked through, it sounds like there's a lot of expectations on her. It sounds like maybe her dad's a little bit abusive, so I'm kind of wondering whether it's that. I'm not 100% sure, but it is chunkier than what The Crossing was. Like, it is a bigger chunky book, but it is in verse, and a lot of it is literally a couple of words and that's it. So I don't think this is going to take me overly long, but I am prepared to probably be quite emotional over it. And if I smash these out quite quickly before my week vlogs over, then I do have book club books to read, which I've forgotten one, so let me just grab it. Oh, I'm back! So I've got Freshwater, which is Fraser and Gay's book club. This is also a library book because to buy this, it was quite expensive. I thought, I'll see if the library got it, and they did. I have no idea what this is about. I'm going to go in this blind, but it is a short book, so this is probably doable compared to the other books that I've got on my list. But I've also got my read along, which is Mass Along, and we're reading book 5 of Throne of Glass, which is Empire of Storms. This is a chunky book, but I can read this quite quickly. Like, it can take me a day, probably 2 days for this. But obviously, depending on how quickly I go through my Bookoplathon books, it depends how quickly I can get through that. But that is an option. And also, we're doing a big group buddy read with Sid's Patreons, where we're reading Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn trilogy. So we're reading the final Empire. I'm a bit intimidated with this. This is going to be my first Brandy Sanderson's book, and I have been putting this on my TBR about the last 2 months, and I keep not reading it. And it's not because I don't want to, because it's like a trilogy, I know the first book's going to be very world building, and from what I've got for a lot of people who've have read it already, it is a lot of world building, and it can be a little bit slow, but then things start getting intense and that. Like, everyone's given it 5 stars, so I'm kind of like, right, I'm going to love it. I just think sometimes when there's a trilogy, a lot of world building happens, and it's just not as fast paced for me. But yeah, that is also what I need to read as well. So these are if I read everything, these are the options to pick up. Probably will be more than likely Freshwater because it's short and I can read it, and maybe start either the Final Empire or Empire of Storms, but there's no way I'm going to finish in this vlog. But yeah, these are the main ones to read, and we'll go from there. So yeah, hopefully this vlog won't be as long. I'm quite busy today. I got a new bookshelf, well, borrowed bookshelf. I'm getting new bookshelves for my birthday and Christmas. My parents said they're going to buy me them instead of me buying them, so win-win. But they've lent me another bookshelf because I got a lot of books still going on. So they said I could borrow that, and once I get my new bookshelves and things move around, they'll probably have that back somewhere downstairs. So I'm borrowing it at the minute. But it's brown and my shelves are white, so I'm moving it so it's not in camera, but it's there. But I want to move things around because I want to put these 2 shelves as fantasy, because I've got more fantasy than anything else. So put fantasy there, and then crime thrillers, and yeah. So the plan is to do bookshelf movements. I'll vlog a little bit of it, but I won't do those because, you know, it's going to probably take me a while. On top of that, I've got my Reader's Friends appointment. I need to ring my person at 1, although I'm not going to lie, I don't know whether it's today or not. I'm adamant it is today, but I never wrote it down anywhere. And now I'm like, was it today? I think it is today, because I remember she's had an operation, so she was going to have a week off and then come back. I'm going to ring her regardless at the time we always ring, and if it wasn't meant to be today, then oops. But I think I'm back on my mind, I'm thinking, yes, it was. But yeah, so I've got to do that in the afternoon, and once that's over and done with, will be the school run. So I'll probably be fitting reading in more in the evening once Bub's asleep, which is fine because I do that anyway. Silent Witness is on, so I'll probably do some reading, watch Silent Witness and do things later. I will be doing some reading, but not a lot. But you know, we'll work there. The rest of the days I'm free. I've got nothing planned, so yeah, that's the plan. Enjoy this vlog. Okay, so it's an absolute shit tip in my room. Look at every single thing there. All there, all there, all there. All on the floor. It's a mess. But this is what I'm thinking of doing. So this is what was lying across like here. So I've now put it on top of that shelf, on top of that on here. And then I don't know what to do now, because that is the other bookshelf, but that's going to be so it's not in the camera, because obviously I can't paint it because my parents want it for downstairs once I've got my new bookshelves. This is here. I don't know whether to like do a proper little book nook, so have my little chair here and I can sit down. So technically if I have my chair here and I do my videos there, maybe? I don't know, but that is the state of it. I like what I've done with this. I quite like that because I need to get used to having 2 bookcases, because when I get my new bookcases they're going to be, I don't know whether they're that height or whether it's just underneath my little white ledge bit under there, but it will be like this. But I think this will do because I can put stuff there. I'm thinking about putting a floor light up here. Yeah, that's the plan. I don't have to do my Reader's Friends today because my lovely lady's still recovering from her operation, so she said she'd rather it would be next week, which is fine by me. So I got now till 3 o'clock to sort this mess out. So I like what I've done with those bookshelves, so I think I might start putting books back in there and then deciding what to do with that, where to put it, and then move the brown one. The brown one I think I'm going to put my crime thrillers on, because I have more I have more fantasy than crime thrillers in a minute. We'll see. But yeah, I thought I'd just update you on that. I have many thoughts about this book, but it's far too late to share them with you. Ooh, that's what I'm going to say. Ooh, I would tell you my thoughts in the morning once I've worked them out properly. But I finished it. Hi. Oh, look at it. You look so good. So I finally got some thoughts about what we devour. I will be totally honest. I'm still very mixed in my feelings and everything about this book. Overall, I enjoyed this book. I did. I think it was a very unique fantasy, certainly dark, and certainly, one that you wanted to keep turning the page to know what's going to happen. I think for me, personally, I find if you're writing a fantasy book, you obviously want to be completely different to all of the other fantasy books out there. There are so many fantasy books out there that have this same style of magic sort of stuff. You've got the same sort of idea of a plot. Obviously, every fantasy is sort of executed different. There's different ways of how they do it, different characters. Like, no fantasy is the same, but some fantasies have the same sort of element, like in regards to magic or witches or vampires, things like this. What we devour is completely unique, original, nothing like any fantasy book out there. And that is good, but I would also say there's a bit of criticism on doing that as well. Because me personally, because I didn't know the magic system at all, like it's nothing that I'm used to in any fantasy, and because this magic system is extremely complex as well, there's lots of things that it's included in this magic system. For me, it made the book quite slow, because there was no way you could like flip through the book really fast, because there's so much going on. You need to really lap it up. Like, any slight thing you miss and you will be confused and lost. And for that, it's sort of like, the positives is it's a complete different dark fantasy to that anything that I read, which is brilliant. But at the same time, because it is so unique, you really do have to sit down and knuckle and read it and really devour it. And I understand the magic system in some ways, but not fully. Like, what I've grasped, I think is correct, but at the same time, someone else might read this and get something completely different to me. So in that sense, it was, it's really done, it's really clever, but I am also like, with that, it is a slower read. There is so much going on that you have to really store it in your head, and if you're distracted or something, you're not picking up key elements in the books. And so yeah, there was a few times I just got a little bit lost and confused, whether it was because I was reading a bit too fast or I got a little bit distracted or something, I don't know. And I also felt, the good first part, like part one of the book, it was very slow, and like I felt like I'd been reading this book for weeks and weeks, which I hadn't. But for me, in a fantasy wise, it took me longer to read than a really big chunky fantasy would take me. Also, as I've said in some of my little clips, I had a sort of inkling that Will and Julian, the characters that were sort of had, I would say they're more side characters in the sense that they didn't have a big part up until the end. But like I had suspicions on them, and I started thinking, right, is it to do with the door? And when I got into part 2 and things started coming out, I was right. And in that sense, that annoyed me because I don't like it when I figure stuff out in books. It's one of my pet peeves, and it's one of my pet peeves I specifically have more with crime thrillers, because there are some that you start getting breadcrumbs and you realise it is, and sometimes when you get to the end, it reveals why, which you might not be right. But I still don't like it, and I don't tend to do that with fantasies because I never know how things are going to play out. But with this, I did have ideas, the same as with Creek, who is one of the immortals. Something happened to him, and I started wondering whether there was more to him. And as we got into the book, I was like, okay, there's something going on. So in the sense of that, I did work things out very quickly. And for that, I'm a bit miffed because I don't like working it out. I like to be surprised. And I was surprised. There was a few twists and turns in this that I didn't expect. Like, I'm still a bit confused in regards to the prince or the heir or Alistair, whichever you'd like to call him. It goes under the heir. The prince, he goes under His Excellency, and Lorena, who is the main character, calls him Alistair. But spoiler, I'm sorry, I'm going to put my hand down. There's no more spoilers, but spoiler. The prince gets killed, so Lorena kills him as like a sacrifice sort of thing. But I don't know whether he's dead or not. Like, the way she said it like, because with the magic system, she's both she's a Juralt, so she's vile and noble, and so she's unbound. So she can basically whenever you use your magic, you have to do a sacrifice. So she used some really strong magic and sacrificed Alistair. But how she sacrificed him, it sounded like he wasn't dead. But how it ends, it's sort of in a way where I think he is dead, and that's it. There's no more him. So that really confused me. I was like, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, like, I really did enjoy it. Like, it is a dark fantasy. It does say in here that it's part swoony, part stabby, and I must admit there was inklings that there would be a possible romance, but it wasn't. It was just sort of more of an understanding with one another, and more like a little flirting. And I think it was more Lorena trying to sweet talk Alistair to get things that she wants, more than actually, I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed this book. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. It hasn't got the 5 stars because of the things I mentioned. And the second part of this book, I really did enjoy. That was like, it really did get fast, and I was quite intrigued, and I was like, ooh, and like there was a lot of twists and turns. But it ends in a way where I have so many questions still, and it's one of those books where, is it just a standalone? Is it going to be a series? Like, I don't know. Like, there's nothing here to say that is. But for my first ever Lindsay Miller book, I really did enjoy it, and I have actually put some of her other books on my wish list because I do like the way she writes and how she writes. So it's completely different to any other book you read, which, you know, like I said, there's pros and cons with it, but it is nice to read books that aren't similar to your normal fantasies or thrillers or whatever you read. So yeah, some criticisms, but overall an enjoyable read, and yeah, 4.5 stars is still good. I've got some parcels. So I'm not going to do the Waterstones one because I think I know what's in there. I think these are because from the book swaps I just did, so I've put like tons of books on this Facebook book swap site. So I've got a feeling some of these books are from that. I might be wrong. No. Oh, that's for a tour, so it's not from book swap. Yeah, I think it's for Tor. Oh, it's a spooky book. Oh, it's a spooky book. Yes. I think, yeah, I'm adamant that's a Tor book, but why have I got? Oh, I've got a Royal Mail survey at the back of this. Like, really? Do I have to? I just want to get into the parcel. Oh, yeah, these two books are part of the swap we did. So it's The Book with No Name by Anonymous, and then The Devil's Graveyard, which is by Anonymous. This is book 1, this is book 3. I need to get book 2, but she didn't have it. But I did a swap there. But I've never heard of this person before, Anonymous. Like, they don't, like, it's, I just love the fact that this is, so the detective in this is a detective from the Department of Supernatural Investigations, and this gives me mime vibes. This gives me mime vibes. Have I got it here? I have got it somewhere. I don't know where I put. Oh, there it is. So this is Mime by Chrissy Harrison. I absolutely love this. I'm gonna try and reread this for October. But again, it was about a supernatural. It's like a paper doing supernatural, and they like did lots of investigation to do with demons and that. And this gives me that vibe. It's to do with hell as well. So I've got like a demon-y vibe from this, and I don't want to go into reading too much into this book because obviously it's book 3, but it is a series. And yeah, I thought, well, I do quite like my like thrillers that are to do with supernatural, so I thought this sounded quite good. And I just love the fact that the author is anonymous. You don't actually know who they are. So yeah, I got them. I'm going to probably get book 2 just because then I can actually read the series. But yeah, so I got that. Got that, which is for Tor. So I've got 3 spooky books. And if I'm correct, this Waterstone package is another sort of, not spooky, but more of an autumny, fall feel to it. Is it? Is it? Oh, it is! So it's October by Katya Balin, and it's just, I don't overly know whether I'm going to enjoy this book, but the cover is just gorgeous. It's got perfect fall vibes, and this fits perfectly for sweater weather readathon I'm participating in. And she's called October, like, what a name. But I'm not 100% sure what this overly is about. I just know it is a middle grade. Like middle grade, maybe young adult. I think it's more middle grade, which I can be hit and miss with, but I just got it really for the cover. It sounds good, and I just think it's going to fit really well for the sweater weather prompt, because that's to do with fall more rather than spookiness. But my little book haul, very happy about that. And yeah, I'm now going to finish Harrow Lake, and if I do not finish it, I am going to be smacking myself. But yeah, that's the plan. Catch up with you all later. Bye. I finished it. I actually finished this like 12:30, but 1 o'clock was my appointment, so I thought, well, best grab something to eat. But no, I finished it, and my word, mind blown. Like, I did not expect any of the twists and turns that happened in here, and I'm shook. I can't get over it. So I suppose in some ways this is a bit like I said, a bit like Home Before Dark, because in Home Before Dark you think it's all haunted, you think there's ghosts and all that, same as like you think there's a monster and ghostly things here, but actually in Home Before Dark it was a murder, and in this the same thing. So actually, so Lola had like repressed memories basically. So when she was 5, she actually witnessed her mum getting killed by her dad. But, you know, she was 5, all this stuff happened, her dad like covered it up and all of that, and so I think it just, you know, when sometimes something really bad happened, it's like at the back of your mind and you completely forget about it, and then like it slowly unravels. So Mr. Jitters basically is not actually, is like a figment of imagination. So, you know, so he wasn't actually a monster, it was a person who is acting like a monster. So basically Lola's mum was abused by her dad, and so she fled Harrow Lake. So she needed to get out of Harrow Lake, and so like her mum always was like, instead of keeping your secrets bottled up, you write them down and then hide them. So like you got them out, but no one can see those secrets, and that's what Lola's mum did. So she bottled all her secrets up, but she used it as Mr. Jitter. So like there was like this folklore song that people did. It was just a song, like made up song, it wasn't real or anything. But Lola's mum talked about the abuse from her dad as Mr. Jitters, and like obviously the things that was going on with Lola, and like all of like reading these like certain notes and all that. But as she uncovered things about her mum, her memories started coming out, and she was remembering all these things. So she obviously remembered that her mum was murdered, and actually she was the one who stabbed her dad. So she stabbed her dad because he was controlling her and all that, not letting her leave. Like they were moving once again, and like things unlocked, and she obviously told him about mum as she stabbed him. And like I don't know whether the PA, the personal assistants to Lola's dad, knew or what, but like obviously shipped her off to Harrow Lake and stuff like that. But it's ended in a bit like, so like I said, basically in the transcripts between Nolan and this Screen magazine director, basically like Lola's missing. But then in the end of this, it's actually, so the person, so CJL actually is Cora Jean Leahy, which is the side character in this book. This is the girl that Lola met when she was at Harrow Lake and all that. So Cora found out the truth, so Lola must have told her or whatever. So so Cora's like dream job once she got out of Harrow Lake was to be a journalist, and so she's done that. So she's ended up having interviewed Miss Knox, and she's got out all of this evidence of him killing his wife and all of that, and probably more than likely killed Cora's dad. And yeah, so she's like the end of it. So he basically has got arrested. But like the end of this says, it sounds like a friendly neighbourhood cops are just about on the doorstep. So for now, from me, you'll all have a delightful day. And Lola, if you're out there, I hope you're writing that damn book, girl. And then, so I thought this bit was actually another book that Kat Ellis has written, but it's not. So it's 2 years later. Star Reads Reviews, Book of the Month, Alice is Gone by L. Evangeline. Suffocated by dark family secrets and an overbearing father, Alice embarks on a mind-bending journey to a world of monstrous creatures and terrifying magic to find her missing mother. The feminist nod to Alice's adventures in Wonderland, inspired by events in the author's own life. This exceptional debut offers an ultimately hopeful insight into a young woman's recovery from a violent trauma. With a big screen adaptation also scheduled for release next year, Alice is Gone is sure to make its mark on moviegoers and readers alike. 5 stars. So it shows that Lola actually has written a book, so she's obviously gone off the radar, so her dad can't find her. But yeah, it was such a big twist that I did not expect any of that. Like, I genuinely thought, this was actually monsters. Like, there was like some sort of, maybe like something happened at Harrow Lake where all these ghosts are there for revenge and all that. And actually, no, it is more actually the monsters that are people. I'll try and find what the where is it? Can I find it? So it's like, so Mr. Jitters isn't the only monster this town's created, and Norelli knew that, which is a man. And yeah, and it just basically says, perhaps, so she says, perhaps they are all monsters' eyes, perhaps they are not there at all. So it's sort of like the people are the monsters, like the ones who aren't nice and all that. It's not actually a proper monster, it's like a metaphor of these nasty, bad people. But yeah, absolutely loved it. It definitely had creepy vibes. But yeah, very enjoyed it. 5 stars. And I'm now going to start and read Run Rebel because it's in verse and I think I'll be able to read that quite quickly. And then I have One Last Stop and Concrete Rose to read lastly, which won't take me long either. So if I can read Run Rebel today and finish it, I can probably blast out the other 2. Yeah, that's the plan. And I don't think it's what I've ordered. I think this might be from the book swap thing on Facebook. So this person really desperately wanted these books, so she said she'd buy me some books off my wish list. So I think it might be this. Oh, I think so. Thank you for swapping with me. These all look so good. Oh yeah, it's all the same things. Oh, okay, so I've got The Devil Wears Black by L.J. Shetton, which is like a dark romance, I think. Ooh. I've got Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Yes. Oh, and I've got The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins, which is another book. Okay, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy. This is tiny. How many? 221 pages. Ooh. But oh my god, I'm really excited. I'm really excited. Yay. Thank you to the person who did the swap. I'm going to go message them now to say thank you, but more book mail. So I managed to finish Run Rebel. It's a chunky book, but because it's like in verse and it's very like short, it's not as, it's quicker to read. So Run Rebel, Magic Man, this is actually her debut novel, but I read The Crossing by Magic Man, which is about refugees, and it was about this boy fleeing from his home country into the UK, and it was like his journey getting into the UK, and it was just an emotional whirlwind that was. And I feel because I read The Crossing first, and then because I absolutely loved the way Magic Man wrote, I was like, oh, I'll get this book. I feel maybe if I read this like in the correct order, maybe I wouldn't feel how I feel about this, but it wasn't anything like The Crossing. Like, I'm not saying this is the same plot, it's not in that sense. Like, we're following Amber, who is a poor black girl. Her parents do not speak a word of English, they can't write or anything like that. Her dad is set in the whole Punjabi way of women do everything, you know, they cook, they clean, they like, yeah. But Amber's dad is also very abusive. He's abusive to his wife, he's also abusive to Amber and her sister. Crap, I've forgotten what her sister's name. What's her sister's name now? Rose? Rose? I can't remember. It's good, don't get me wrong, there's lots of bits in this book that I was like, oh gosh, yeah, and like it was so true, and how, you know, again, talking about privilege, you know, if you're privileged enough to have money or you're white and stuff like that, you can pretty much do what you want, but like here it's like rules and all of that. Like, it's very interesting way. So Amber's pretty much like, that was just something that just made her go enough, and she decided to rebel. She rebelled, and her dad's expectations and his rules and her own fears, like her anxieties and all that, she starts speaking out. She obviously gets in quite a bit of trouble doing so, but I understand why she's doing it. For me, it just didn't have that impactful, powerful punch in the gut like The Crossing did to me. Like The Crossing, I could not put it down. I had so many emotions and feelings. I was just so invested in both of the characters. It was like two different backgrounds. We've got like a white privileged girl, like teenager, to then this boy who fled his hometown to go into the UK. He's a refugee, all of that, and I just wasn't expecting the ending. And with this, it's more focusing on like the rules and expectations you have with like your faith and things like that. Obviously, you know, there is abuse with the father, like he is literally taking it one step too far, but I do feel like actually some men in that background do that, and like it's like the normal, which it's not. Just for me, I got very angry. Like, that was my emotion. As in, with The Crossing, I had so many emotions. I was heartbroken. There was like moments where I was full of hope and joy. You know, there was moments where I was so angry, but it really opened my eyes to refugees, and you know, why we have loads of people coming from, like, fleeing from their hometown coming into the UK. I like, you know, what they're fleeing from, thinking like the UK is going to be 10 times better, which in some sense, yes, it is, but they're not fleeing from racism or, you know, anything like that. And in some sense, you know, they might not be enslavement so much in the UK, depending on where they, you know, how you get into the UK. But it was just something that was so powerful about The Crossing that it's still stuck in my head. That and Hate You Give are like two of the most like powerful books I've read that has had you know, diversity rep, POC rep, like stuff that's really opened my eyes out, because, you know, I've been very blasé, not noticed it. This just didn't have that oomph for me. you know, and for me it was sort of, I am one of those people when domestic abuse happens, it's sort of, my knee-jerk reaction is, why are you not leaving? Why do you put up with it? And I understand the reasons why. I've been in it myself, but it never got so far it was bad. Like, I managed to get out of the situation quite quickly early on, and I understand why there are many women or men who don't, because, you know, they fear for their lives and all that, and it's better to get a few punches here and there rather than actually, you know, escape and worst case happening and stuff like that. I just got so angry, and the same with like Amber's friends as well. Like, I kind of just felt they didn't care. There was just parts where, you know, they didn't care. Like, especially Amber's girlmate. She was just like Tara. She was just very, oh, do some meditation, or here, I'll heal you with my crystal, sort of thing, because like her mum's like a Reiki sort of thing. And I'm like, you're not getting the picture. Like, your friend here is struggling. She can't actually tell you what's going on, but like, read between the lines. Like, it just didn't do it for me, and it annoys me because I absolutely love The Crossing, and I don't know whether it's because I read The Crossing first because it was for a tour and it was so impactful for me that I had such high expectations for this, and it just didn't do that for me. Like, I'm not saying it was awful, it wasn't, you know, the rep in there, you know, the faith and what like their beliefs are. It wasn't so much touching racism in so much sense. It was more, you know, privilege of, you know, how easy it is to do things like that, and like things like, and obviously with the domestic abuse side of things, it was just, it wasn't as impactful as The Crossing, which, because of how that book was for me, I was expecting the same with this, and I just didn't get that. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It's still a good read, just wasn't as brilliant as what I felt The Crossing was, in my opinion. But now I'm going to read One Last Stop. I'm hoping to bash this out very quickly as well. It's a romance. It's a sapphic romance, so we're here for that. But I thought, no, I need just a light read now. I've got Concrete Rose left to read for Bookoplathon, and then it's all completed. So, you know, I honestly don't think it's going to take me long. But I was just like, as much as I want to really desperately read Concrete Rose, I feel like I just need a break. I've read a dark fantasy. I've read quite a creepy, twisted, spooky thriller. I've now read a book that's like not a letdown, but like that's got its own level of things like abuse and stuff like that. I'm thinking, no, I've read some heavy reads now. I just need something light. So we're going to read One Last Stop. It's my book club pick as well. But I've actually had mixed reviews. I've had someone who's read it and absolutely loved it, and someone who gave it 3.5 stars, saying that it wasn't as good as Red, White and Royal Blue. And I've seen that around. Some people said this is way better than Red, White, Royal Blue. Some said it's not. You know, a lot of people didn't like Red, White and Royal Blue, and so I put it off because I was like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy it. And then when I read it, I was like, what are these people on about? It's brilliant. So yeah, I'm on a fence of like, am I going to enjoy this? Is it going to be better than Red, White, Royal and Blue, or is it on par? Or is it that Red, White and Royal Blue has such a standard that maybe this falls flat? I don't know, but we're going to find out. But either way, I'm excited. And just look, I do love me a floppy book. But yeah, I'm now on to my 4th book. We're doing well. I'm hoping I can bash this out and Concrete Rose, because on a weekend I do need to start my 24-hour readathon, which is a complete separate thing because it's with a Tanzip Collectives. I'm doing like a 24-hour read along with them, so I want to get these books out of the way so I can concentrate on that, because I've got 7 novellas to read in 24 hours, you know. But yeah, I'm going to go and read this now, and I will maybe catch up with you later if I can. If not, I will give you some thoughts and feelings in the morning. But yeah, I will see you soon. Hi guys, so I've got a little bit of a book update / change going on. So I'm currently reading One Last Stop. I'm on chapter 6, page 111. I am enjoying it, but it's just not as good as Red, White and Royal Blue at the minute. Like Red, White, Royal Blue, I breezed through that book. I could not put it down. Like literally the first page of chapter 1, I was hooked. Absolutely loved the characters and the banter, and just I wanted to know more. I could not put it down, and I loved that book, and I was so shocked at how much I loved it. This at the moment is not giving me that. Like, I am 111 pages in, and I won't lie, I'm a bit bored by it. Like, we're currently, so we meet 23-year-old August. She's moved to New York City, and as you're reading it, you don't understand why she's moved there. She sort of just, you don't know much about August, but as you read more about August. Basically, before August was born, her mother's brother just vanished. Her mother filed like a missing report and all that, and the police like looked into it, but there was nothing to show that anything happened to him or anything. And so they went to August's mum to say, look, are you sure he's missing, or has he actually just left and doesn't want anyone to find him, sort of thing. So August's mother is pretty much decided to be her own PI. She's like sneaked in all of these like she's looking for her brother basically. And when August was born, she made August pretty much read and write and speak at a very early age, like at 3. And she got August to start doing things. So like August would sort of do like a little sob story, something that happened to her, to the police, while her mum went and got some files from there and things like that. And basically August's mum's obsessed in finding her brother, and August has been dragged into like the whole sort of secret PI world. So August is quite obsessed with like true crime and missing persons cases and all that, but she's fed up now. She's fed up of doing all this stuff for her mum and not living her life, not having any friends, because she doesn't do that because of her mum. So she keeps moving, but every time she moves, her mum has dragged her back in, or she's been sucked into like doing like detective work and stuff. So she's gone to New York for her basically to get lost and to no one like know who she is, and she can just be her. So she has all these like ideas of what New York is for her, but she's gone to New York. She's the only place she can afford is this flat with some very quirky flatmates. So we've got Nico, Maya, and Wes. Nico is a part-time psychic and I think a part-time tattooist, if I'm right, or no, part-time bartender. He's rubbish at it. Maya's sort of studying art or doing art, but she's actually an electric engineer, but she just prefers the art side of things. And Wes he's very weird. He's like nocturnal. You only see him in the evening, like at night, stuff like that. So it's like a very weird flatmate scenario. The house that she's in is like very dingy and tiny and messy and clutters and stuff, but she's there. She also is working at a 24-hour pancake diner, waiting tables and that. So like her like plan of New York is completely gone to put. Like she's like, this is not what I imagined. But the only sort of hopeful thing of her like life is the commute that she has to do from her flat to her university, which is the Q train. And that is when she meets a very gorgeous looking girl called Jane, or otherwise known as Subway Girl. August like pretty much absolutely adores Jane. They've been chatting and all that, but August asked Jane out, and she sort of said, I can't. And like August is like trying to work out like why can't she, and like her flatmates are like, maybe there's reasons. And then while August was working at the diner, she was also trying to figure out whether to change her commute so she doesn't see Jane again, sort of thing. She comes across a picture of Jane in the 1970s. Now, when August and Jane's been talking, Jane used to work at the diner, and so like they've been talking about the diner and about like the people there. But August has now realised that actually Jane, so she found a picture of Jane at the diner in 1976, and it's the exact same of what Jane looks like now. So now August is like sort of thinking, is she a ghost? Is she a vampire? Stuff like that, because like other people can see her. It's not like a figment of her imagination, but like, she's from 1976. How does that work? So Nico, her psychic friend, they've just done a seance to see if Jane is actually a ghost, because August has got like a scarf from Jane, so they can use that to get Jane to come if she was a ghost. But no one's come, so it's kind of come clear that Jane isn't a ghost. So now August is trying to work out like, who's Jane, like how is she here, and all of that sort of thing. So like we're getting to that bit, and obviously I think we're going to start realising that obviously Jane's time travelling, which is what the book's about. It's just nothing's really, it's just that like, Red, White and Royal Blue, at this part in the book, 111 pages in Red, White and Boy, we had like banter, we had flirting. I honestly think we had some flirty sort of emails between the two main characters. Like there was a lot going on. This is just, there are some bits where I think, do I really need to know that? Like, is it really necessary for this book? No, I don't think it is. I want the romance to kick in. Like, and that I'm sort of questioning, like, is there actually a romance kicking in, or is it not? Like, it is a romance book, but I don't know. It's just not giving me the vibes like Red, White and Royal Blue which is disappointing in that sense. I don't know whether I'm putting too much expectations in this or not, but at the minute it's boring. Like, not like it is boring, nothing's really going on that I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not really itching to pick this up. But I do want to continue reading because I want to know what happens, and I do think probably as I get more into this book I probably will enjoy it a bit more. Just, you know, the first 111 pages, there, to me, about 75 pages of this book could have been cut out. But I do want to continue reading this, but I'm going to have to pause this, however, because I am on tour for a book and I thought it was for tomorrow, like my review, but actually it's today. So I haven't actually read the book yet. But the tour, it's based in a different country to me, so their time zone is different. So I'm on the afternoon review tour. So they said to do like their time 12 p.m, which is my time is 3 p.m, like to post after then. So I have enough time to do this. It's on my Kindle. It's called Desires of the Immersed, I think. Is that how you pronounce it? I have no idea. I'm just trying to find who it's by. It is by oh, come on. So it's the Witchborn series, which is book 1, and I can't remember who it's by now. Oh, Kaylin J. Peters. So I read the first chapter, and the first chapter is absolutely on fire. So I'm currently on chapter 2, so that's what, 5% in the book. But yeah, the first chapter, like, so much happened, like it's very quick paced, so I genuinely think I'm going to be able to read this quite fast, because literally chapter 1 I was like, okay, this is brilliant already. So hopefully that continues. So I'm going to be now reading this, and then once I finish that I will then go back to One Last Stop. But obviously this now takes priority because I do need to put my review up later, and obviously I need to read it before I do that. So change plan, I'm going to do this and then we'll come back to One Last Stop. So I don't think I'll be able to manage to read Concrete Rose in this vlog, so I'm going to have to add that in to the rest of my reads, because I have lots of books left to read still. Anyway, I'm going to now read and actually, you know, get this out of the way so I can continue when I stop. But that's my thoughts at the minute. Hopefully it will pick up, because I don't want it to be a flop, but we'll see. So I'll check in when I finish this. I'm so annoyed with myself. So I assumed that I was on tour for Desires of the Immersed, which is what I have been reading. And then I noticed people who were on tour just putting up this giveaway thing, and I was just like, I'm confused. So I ended up putting in this group chat saying, am I meant to just be putting up a giveaway, or am I actually meant to be putting up a review? So it turns out, because this is like the first tour I've done with them, it turns out that they do giveaway tours, cover reveal tours, and then review tours. So I signed up for this tour thinking I was reading it, and actually it's a giveaway. But if we read the book and share our review, like through like send our Amazon review link to them, then we like get given like a little thing from the author. And I'm so annoyed with myself, because either I didn't read it properly or what, but I've just rushed reading a book that actually technically I didn't need to read. So it's officially the end of this vlog, and I managed to read 4 books. I'm very pleased in reading 4 books. So 3 of them were for Bookoplathon. The 4th book was what I thought was for a tour that I was on that Friday. Turned out to be that actually I got that all wrong. It wasn't actually a review tour, it was just you know, an awareness sort of tour. So I read a book when I didn't have to, but nevertheless it was still an extra book to say I read for this vlog and for my overall September reads. But these are the books that were on this TBR, as well as some extra ones should I have finished them all in that week. Obviously I didn't. If you've gotten this far you would have seen that, but I managed to read 3 out of those 5 books. So first up we read What We Devour by Lindsay Miller. So I overall really did enjoy this book. I really liked the magic system of this book. It was unique, it was original. There was nothing like this book in any other books. Like, this was its own voice, its own system, its own fantasy. I've not read a single fantasy that had similar aspects to this, and I really liked that it was completely new and original. And I was like, yes, you know, this person's gone, like Lindsay's gone out of the normal fantasy books that you have. She's decided, I'm not going to use the same like magic tricks that these books have. I'm not going to do you know, more magic system that most fantasies have, because a lot of fantasies all have the same sort of fantasy magic element, but they do their own spin on things, but it's always like a similar magic system in each fantasy. But this, no, it was just completely unique, and I really liked that. However, as much as I liked that, I did feel, because it was completely new and like I've never read a magic system quite like this, I did get confused. Like, honestly, if I will be really, really truthful to you guys, if you turned around and said to me, sum this book up of what it's about in like so many words, I wouldn't be able to do it, because I genuinely still, after finishing this, not 100% sure what went on. I got the sort of gist of things, but I don't know whether I actually have understood it correctly, just because it's so different to the magic system, the magic world that we're used to in other fantasy books. It's sort of like, oh, and because of that you do have to learn all these different things, and because it's so complex, this book has so much going on, it is just hard. Like, you're sort of locking little bits in your head, and then it's sort of something else happens and you forget. And in that sense, it was just, I did get quite confused, and I was just like, I'm not 100% sure if I'm really understanding what this book is really about. Also, some little bits I was a bit off, but there were some bits I don't think were necessary in a book. I felt it just made it lag and a bit slow. Obviously, the magic system side of things was slow, because you really do, like, this is not a book to fly through. This is a book that you have to take your time with. And even though it's not overly a big book, it took me a lot longer than I thought necessary it would usually take me, just because it's just so complicated and so many different elements of this book. You really have to sit and read it, like, you know, fully invest in it, not to get distracted. Also, I was a bit, I'm always get annoyed if I sort of work out the whodunit or stuff like that, which I did in this. So there are two characters, Will and Julian, who sort of are main characters, but they're not, like, it's not full frontal main characters. But I had some inklings of what these two were, and that they were a bit more not as good as we thought and all that, and I was right. And there was another bit that I was also correct with. I just didn't know the reason behind it, which was a nice twist for me, the fact that I didn't get that reason correctly. But I'm not one who likes to guess these things early on in a book. Like, you know, I'm quite happy if it's the last couple of chapters, because sometimes, you know, most books, it gets revealed near the end. You know, for me, I felt I got the reveal quite early on in this book. I also felt, so this ends in a way where it doesn't end in a cliffhanger, and it doesn't end abruptly. So this is just like a standalone. It ends quite open into like interpretation. So it could be that, you know, for now this is just a standalone, but the author might go back and say, actually, do you know what, I want to continue this story, and then like start a series or duology, whatever. So, or it could just end in a way where you make your own decision of what happens, and stuff like that. So it ends not in a cliffhanger, but it ends quite open. So you can, like, you know, I would like this to be a series or at least a duology, because I feel like another book would maybe answer some questions I had. I am still, and I can't work out whether one of our main characters in here is actually dead, or not. Like, something happened. I have obviously voiced it in these clips, but I won't do it again just in case you don't want to know that spoiler. But like, something happens to one of the main characters, and I'm still confused on whether that character actually dies, but it's actually, he actually gets brought back to life sort of thing, or whether he's completely dead. I don't know, and it's annoying me because like it didn't give me much context into that personally. So I'm giving this 4 stars. I did enjoy it. It's not at all to say I didn't enjoy it. I just felt there were some bits that weren't needed. Some bit I also feel like, because it's such a unique magic system, you do get confused, and you know, when you're a bit confused in the book, it's a bit like, ooh, what did I read? Then I read Harry Lake by Kat Ellis, and this book surprised me. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this book as much as I did. I loved this from start to finish. I could not put this book down. I really liked our main character Lola. I really liked the atmosphere that the author writes. Like, it was so atmospheric. It was so creepy. Like, Harry Lake is just, you know, a 1920s film. It was just, everything about this book was brilliant. And Mr. Jitters, which is like the monster in here, it was sort of like, is he a ghost? Is he a figment of our imagination? All these things. Like, he was creepy. Like, I read, like, you know, I got halfway and I was like, it's creepy, but it's not enough that I need to like stop reading during the night. And just as I filmed that, like, you know, chapter after that, I was like, okay. And I had to stop reading because I was starting to get a little bit jumpy, creeped out. But actually, as I got into the book, certain things came to light. It did start getting quite creepy and all that. But then it sort of came into the bit that actually it isn't, you know, a ghost or monsters. It's actually people that are monsters. And like, all these revelations came out about Lola and her dad and her mum. It was just really good. Like, it gave me Home Before Dark vibes, and I loved Home Before Dark. Like, it was a creepy, atmospheric book, but actually, you know, how it ended, it was more not an actual ghost story. It was more like, you know, people, hide and seekers and stuff like that. But it also gave you that question of, oh, is it? Yeah, love this. 5 stars. Absolutely surprised that I loved it. I then read and finished Ren Rebel, which is by Manjit Man. It's a first book. So I read Manjeet Man's book, The Crossing. That was the first book I ever read of hers, and I loved it. And I saw that she had this book out, which is her debut. So I kind of read them in different orders. And I feel that maybe if I didn't read The Crossing first and I read this first, my opinions and views of this book would have been different. So The Crossing is about refugees. It's about trying to live, things like that. It's about grief, loss, hope. It's all of these things. It was so emotional. I still can't get over that book. It's very much at the top list with The Hate You Give. Those two books have just really moved me, and they've just stayed with me ever since I read them. The Crossing was just so emotional, and I absolutely adored it. It was just such an important read. This, unfortunately, wasn't that for me. I didn't feel overly emotional in this. Like, I cared for the character, don't get me wrong, and obviously what was going on with her was quite, upsetting and all that, but I didn't get the emotions side of it. I understood the, to me it was more focusing on poverty rather than like racism and like being a person of colour and all the prejudice from that. It was more to me, poverty about faith and religion, and what that the men should be, like the women should do everything, the men should be waited on, blah blah blah. And obviously Amber's completely trapped with all of these rules that her father's made. Her father's abusive and stuff like that. Apart from Amber, the rest of the family do not speak English. You don't even read English, nothing like that. They can't write, stuff like that, because like the father says you don't need to, blah blah blah. All of this. It is a moving read. It just wasn't as powerful and as emotional as The Crossing was for me. And I kind of felt a little bit like Amber obviously rebels, starts speaking up, and then like that starts a catalyst of all these things, and the mother ends up leaving the husband, stuff like that. But I just got a little bit irritated with certain things. I got quite irritated with Amber's friends, especially the girl who was very much like, oh, let's heal, like let's get your anger with these crystals and all that. And I'm thinking, your friend doesn't want that. Your friend just wants someone to hug her or at a vent or anything like that. And it was good. It was just not as impactful as The Crossing. And I don't know whether it's because I should have read this first and then The Crossing, and I might have had a different reaction to this or not. I don't know. So for that, I'm giving it 3.5 stars. Like, I'll probably round it up to 4 on Goodreads. But yeah, it's 3.5 stars. It was just not as brilliant as The Crossing, unfortunately. I also have started reading One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which is also my book club pick as well. I am on chapter 10, page 229. These are very long chapters because, as you can see, chapter 10, but I've read that much. I'm over halfway, or I am halfway. I think I'm a little bit over, so I've got this much left. But I am not going to be reading this at this particular moment, purely because I am participating in 24-hour read-a-thon, a really special one, and that starts this weekend, so I obviously need to prioritise that now. So I will probably pick this up Sunday night, Monday, and finish this. It's not going to take me long because it's really picking up now. Like, I'm really enjoying it. And I also need to read Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, so I'll be starting that next week as well, but I don't overly think it's going to take me long. I think I'm going to love it. So yeah. I then also read the book on my Kindle, Desires of the Immersed. I'm giving that 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I just wanted more world building. I wanted more world building to understand the magic system and this other different world, because we just like got knee deep into it, and I didn't really know what was going on, and I felt like the book was like maybe the second or third book in a series rather than the first of the book. But I've given it 4 stars because the actual writing and the magic and just like the plot of the book was really good. I wanted more world building, so then I actually understood the fantasy side of it a lot more than I did. So yeah, 4 books. Read one, nearly 5 because I'm over halfway in one. Did really well, I think. And yeah, I literally have 1 full book to read for Bookoplathon, and I just need to finish another one, which is doable, and I've still got a week left to do that. So we're getting there. Anyway, thank you for watching this vlog. Take care. I'll see you again soon. Bye.